Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Bautista with Cornerstone Church in Arizona, and I've recently had a few requests to share how we did this. So this video is how to generate this screen from Planning Center. So what we have done is we get all the times from Planning Center, we get all the titles, and we get all the positions from Planning Center, and we kind of roughly put them where they are. It's not very accurate, but so all the camera positions are listed. So this is really helpful for volunteers or workers that just want to walk in and see who the singers are, who the vocalists are, who the instrument players are, who everybody is and who's working that day. And also this has the leads, like who's leading the songs, some notes from whatever notes you want to record on here. Of course, that could get a little verbose, so we just have very little. We have only leads, and we have a couple, like the host moment is written out, and so we split out the production into two sides. So this is the first half, this is the second half, and so we're going to talk about how to accomplish this. So what we do on a weekly basis is we have this all automated off of a Apple Automator script. So what it does is it goes into the Finder and it deletes everything from the download folder to trash. So this has to be a computer that you don't mind getting trashed. And then it runs this Python script, and then watch me do is me physically going over to the print button in Planning Center and printing the PDF. However, when you print the PDF, it doesn't save it very well. It has like this weird white bar at the beginning. So what we've done is we save it to a PNG file. We convert it to a PNG file, and then we maximize the PNG file onto the screen. So that's what we do, and we'll talk about each step. And I apologize if this is a long video. It's a lot of information, and I'm trying to condense it to something that's functional but still, concise. That's the word. So let's get started. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to eventually get to this Python script, but I want to talk about the underlying stuff so that you understand when we go through the Python script what we're talking about, because it could get kind of confusing if you're not confused already. So so Planning Center has this really nice developer website, and it's so you could explore the API, you could do really cool things. But the very first thing that you really need to do is after you click on this, you go into here and you do this authentication. So you need to access your developer account, and this is the website that you get when you click on that. And you don't need an application. What you need is a personal access token. And you generate that. You could call it whatever you want, and it's not picky or whatever. You just need to remember the application ID and the secret. This goes throughout the entire solution. So once you have your application and your secret, what we're going to do is we're going to feed that in and to other things, like I said. And then this is the API Explorer. It's really nice in terms of you could explore everything going on and But what I find kind of annoying is that you have to click on everything. So like if you wanted to see this link, you got to click on everything. So what I did is I installed this tool called Insomnia, and it's just it's kind of a REST interface thing. So you put in the same username, you put in the same password as we saw before, and now you have full access to the API. But it's all written out, no clicking, you just scroll. And there's even a search function in here. So you could search for exactly what you want. Super nice. I would recommend that if you plan on getting into this at all. So that's how you access the database. Let's talk briefly about how we start connecting Planning Center on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this print button, and we're going to create a custom template. And I did this, I just picked one of the other random templates, and we're just going to do edit custom reports. And I created a new one called video demo. And I picked a random thing. And we're going to edit that. There it goes. Okay, so as you see here, this is all HTML. So if you've ever used HTML, it's all HTML. But then it has this really cool thing called Liquid. And Liquid is a programming language created by Shopify. And so Planning Center uses it to print out variables, and it has for loops, which is really nice, and has its basic programming structures with variables and such. So that's really nice. Our goal here, one of our goals, is to rewrite this entire thing with what is necessary to get to our bigger picture. So I'll provide that and everything. So I've done that work. So you don't need to. So, but that's our goal. And then, okay, so let's talk about that. So here's our report template. And as you see here, it's all tiny and it has like white in the background. And so that's why we need to convert it to PNG. So what we're going to do now is this is Visual Studio, and I didn't need to download any plugins, I don't think, for this. So what I did is I made a giant HTML table that is super customizable based off of what Planning Center had. And there are some keywords that I look for, and so just I'll try to point those out. And what we will do is we'll have this open. We'll show this also so that we know what we're talking about. So we have okay, so this is a giant HTML table. So you can kind of see that there's a column here. This is a big column right here, and then this is another column. So there's 3 columns in our table and only 1 row. And this is another table that's in there, and I believe these are also little tables. So we'll go through that. So here we have a couple assignments, global assignments. So we have, max row count is 12, whatever. So our broadcast audio, so we wanted to, it's like maybe someday we want to change this around. So I have this all nicely assigned at the top. So our broadcast audio row is 1. Here's a broadcast. And assistant media director is 1. There's assistant director. And media directors up here when they actually sign up for Planning Center. It's just kind of assumed that they show up. The speaker, of course, this time we don't have a speaker sign. Speakers are hardly ever signed up. So host is usually not signed up either, but whatever. Sometimes they are. It's nice when they approve. Stage manager, and then we have all our camera positions are specifically labeled for, here's camera 4, it's at column 1, row 1, and then versus camera 7, it's actually at a different, so it's row 1, column 2, but then if we go down to camera 6, which is down here, that's actually a different table down here. So, but here's our lead row. Our lead row is 3, column 3, so 1, 2, 3. As you see, we're not picky about where it ends up on the table. So Donna could be in the middle, or she could be like way over to the left or right. Planning Center doesn't know. So it just gets listed. And so, and then what we have is let's hide this for a second. So what we have here is all the icons that you see. And these are all on Google Drive. So these are all links. So you will need to, I could provide our icons, but you will need to put it on your own Google Drive and fix these sources. And so you got your list of electric guitars. We even have violins sometimes, and we call it electric nameless. So, and actually, that probably doesn't work all that well since it overwrites. Anyway, sorry. Keys. We got our keys. We got our music. So we have all our icons basically. And the biggest thing is that we have nameless. So let's go back over here. Okay, so for plan person in, plan people not declined. So this goes into Planning Center and it gets all the plan people that have accepted their position. So, and it captures the position name that they have in Planning Center, and then it has a case statement of like, okay, well, when they're bass, this is the icon they get. When they're drums, this is the icon they get. So it's super customizable. And then, camera 1, 2, 3, whatever. And so you will have to change this based off of what you call each of these positions. And they must be called the same thing week in and week out. If you have trouble with that, then this isn't going to be working for you. So everything needs to be the same week in and week out, or else this script breaks. The script often breaks when we have special events because things happen, and the planning gets a little off. So we got some weird stuff. Let's see, we have, this is our big table. This is basically this entire table. So remember, there's 3 columns. And so let's see. Let's see, these are CSV things so that whenever you see a song, media, you could color it different things, and but we're still not to the actual thing yet. So there's our header. Here's some titles. Okay, here's our big table. So we got a left-hand table for the songs and live welcome notes. So we generally have about 3-4 songs and then live welcome, and that's usually whatever fits. That's usually the maximum that fits in this column. We just found that that's a convenient. So we have like our 10-minute countdown, our host moment, and a couple of songs, and then live welcome, and then we end up, so this is not dynamic. Like it doesn't like get to the end and say, oh, I need to go to the next column. It's not like that. It is hard coded, so you have to recognize that. So there are some hard coded things in here. For example, so now here we have some more liquid. So for all the items in the plan, it goes through them, and if the item type is header, it will print out the title, and that is the title. So like 10-minute countdown in this example, and then we kind of go through special cases. So like in this case, we have baptisms. We want to see how many people get baptized. So we have we print out all the notes from baptisms. And songs. Now sometimes worship gets really verbose with this, so all we do is we print out any line that contains the word lead in it. And so as you see here, we have Donna lead, Caleb lead. If you look on Planning Center, there could be a lot of notes. This just picks out the ones that have lead in it, so we could detect lead switches and let people know who's actually doing it. So if it contains lead, and then for live welcome or host moment, it prints out basically the notes of what they're going to be talking about. So it doesn't really care about what those descriptions are. It will print out all of them though. So hopefully you're not super, hopefully you don't write paragraphs and paragraphs. Okay, so this is the left-hand table. So, and as you see here, it will only print out things. So anyway, so here's this table. Prints out those plan items. And the title, yeah. So yeah, okay. So now we will get to the middle table. Actually, one title for the top column, so we can insert a line. So what this will do is the top column. So this is, the assistant director, speaker, host. If you want to name them anything, you just change them here. So this will require a lot of editing, customization to what you use in Planning Center. And so we just print out the thing, we print out the images, we print out the people, and then so this stuff right here, I put all the style stuff up here to make this really minimal and clean. So, and then you could easily change the style up here depending on what you want. And so there's that table. Okay, so now we have the second table for the band, and this is that big one. So now we have, so here's our max column count that we assigned up above, and so now we have, we basically go through all the cameras and the drums, And I'm going to get to this part right here. Okay, so one thing that we have a problem with every so often is that the our guitars and our vocalists are often, they exceed our max count. So for example, if we have, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right now we have 5 vocalists. And what happens when we have 6? So we have often run into issues when we have more vocalists and stuff like that. So you may have to change this. Like here's our vocal row, and so you may need to change this depending on, you may need to change your max column count is basically what I'm talking about. Because like right here, we're going to max column count. So basically what happens is we put a space in between them all. So we +2, and or else they get like really crowded in the table. You know, they get like on top of each other and they don't have room for the names anymore and stuff. So we put this space right here. And so you may have to increase your max column. That's all I'm saying. So, and if you want your vocalist to be at a different row, you know, you could do that. Right now, they're in the same row, and so this is the key table, and then now there is a front of house table, and this is where we have camera 5, some roaming cameras. We have camera 1, 2, producer, audio director, lighting director. So as with everything else, you'll have to customize this based off of what you want to call them and what Planning Center calls them. Luckily, Planning Center, this has nothing to do anymore with Planning Center. All this is decoration. You can name this as many times as you want, or you could keep this exactly the same. And Planning Center is only up here at the top, if that makes sense. So with this plan person and these lists, so this is all Planning Center. Everything else is pretty much, it gets saved to this variable. So now you could plug that variable in wherever you want. So, oh yeah, here's some Planning Center stuff that we went over. So, but here, this is all decoration. So you could call it whatever you want. You can make it look however you want, and you can name it whatever you want. And so here is our left table for more notes. So this is this section right here. So we have our left table, and start display. Oh, this is it. Okay, I'll have to do start display. I'll have to talk about that. That's how we split it between the two. So so we're going through the same plan again, as you see, and our start display controls this. So basically, if the title contains live welcome or host a moment, then we start display. So remember, our previous one just went through the whole thing and then just turned it off after our host moment here. And then now we're continuing on here. So this thing goes through the same list, but now it says, oh, I've gotten to live welcome or host moment. Now I'm going to start the display again. I'm going to start the display for this list. So when it's true, then we will start displaying, and it's pretty much almost the same thing. We will have a keyword for song. For the item type, we have, if it contains lead, then it's lead. but we don't have as much logic because usually we don't have too much note stuff in the last half. It's mainly sermon, maybe a song, maybe, not usually not all that much. So that is pretty much the entire thing. So what will you need to change? You'll need to change some of the keywords. You'll need to review the way that you do Planning Center. Do we want to make sure that the word lead is in a line by itself? How do we want to split this up? Do we want to split it up on, how do we commonly separate our services and what would fit? This was a lot of trial and error to see where we should split it. Yeah, you don't need to change that one. So you'll need to come up here, and of course you'll need to change maybe some of these names, broadcast audio, I don't know what you call your people, and you'll need to change your icons if you want it, but you could use ours. Oh yeah, and you'll need to change this section depending on what you call your instruments. So the keys to this is that Planning Center must be the same or very similar every week, at least the structure of it, at least the names of things. It should be, because it'd be a pain to change drums. Why would you change the name drums every week? So anyway, okay, so that is this explained. So here we have it saved to a liquid file, and but it's really HTML. So what you would do is you would do it in Visual Studio, and now you just copy and paste this. So now you could copy and paste the whole thing inside this, and we're just going to select all. We're going to delete that. We're going to paste that in there. Okay, so now we have our picture, but that's great. And now it will work for whatever plan that we printed on. So it'll look like this, which is, this is actually not the same program that we've been looking at. But this is our, so it'll look like this, but it's not pretty enough for full screen. It's still, okay. But we want it automated and we want it pretty. So let's automate it and make it pretty. So automation is done by a Python script. Okay, let's talk about this Python script. So this is the code that we got before. And remember, this is the code that I mentioned earlier where we grabbed it from this edit command, from this edit path. And this is the password and username that we got from the key that we generated from that. And so let's talk about what we do here. So I set up some arguments because we want it to work with this Chandler special events. And so I set up some arguments. By default, the argument is Chandler. We'll talk about that in a second. So the first thing that it does is it gets service for type and service type. So service type is by default Chandler, but it could be Chandler or Chandler special events or pretty much anything. But you got to remember that it has to fit into the format that the HTML is looking for. So let's go to Insomnia and we'll look at what this means. So here we have. So here we have. So here we have our service types, And here we have Chandler as our name. So we are basically getting this 8779 number. Why couldn't we hard code that? Great question. Why hard code things? It's so much funner to get them automated. So, so we have one for Chandler, and then there's a Chandler special events in here. Special. Here's Chandler special events. So this is like conferences or whatever. So that ID is over here. So what does the Python script do? So it gets a service for Chandler or whatever. So let's go up to here, get service for type. So it goes the service types URL, and it grabs all the data, and then when it equals the name, we get the ID. So when it equals the name, we get the ID. Okay, so that's great. Okay, and then now we're going to get the next plan for that type. So this is a really cool thing of Planning Center. And so we're going to get the next plan. So this is where we're looking at. But check this out. It has this cool filter future. And so it uses that service type, that like 8779 that we had before, and it looks at the future. Now, this is great for weekly stuff. It's not great for multi-session conferences. So like if you have session 1, session 2, and then session 3 later on in the day, filter future kind of fails, to be completely honest. I mean, it just fails because it doesn't know. It's not great at saying, okay, I got this time. It's like, 11:55. So the next one, so yeah, it just completely messes up. So we'll probably have to change the Apple Automator script to do something. We'll talk about the Apple Automator script. So then it sorts by the date. And now we could just assume that the first plan that's listed is the next plan. So let's look at what that looks like in the data. So we have filter, future, include plan times, filter. Yeah, so plans. So here we have our next plan that comes up is, 13. So this next Sunday. So that's great. And so now we're just going to grab that data. So now we got that, we got our next plan ID, and now, yay, we're there. This one is really important. It says get the first item, the first item. So now we got our plan ID. So now we have our next service, we have our next plan ID, and now we have our plan path. So let's go get the plan path. So we got our next plan, we got our next plan ID, and that is honestly, now we open a web browser to get that. Now, what I wish we could do is get this PDF. And this is possible. I got really far with it. The problem, so what this does is it will actually return it'll open the web browser for the PDF of the plan, like just if you push the print button. However, it didn't, when I was implementing this, it didn't want to do landscape at all. It kept on doing portrait. It would even do the 11:17. It would do the print margins. It was super nice. It would just completely ignore print orientation equals landscape. No idea why. It would have saved a lot. It would have saved a lot of trouble from the Automator script. And we'll look at the Automator script in a second. This isn't possible right now. Maybe I'll make a ticket. Maybe, I don't know. I'm lazy. I say lazy after I made all this script, but I have a limit. So I'm also impatient, so I'll just get done whatever I want to get done. So we opened the web browser on the plan. So that plan ID, the next plan ID. So that is as far as this Python script goes. So now we have our liquid file that we plugged into a PCO. We have our Python script, and that opens the web browser. So now let's go back to the Apple Automator script. Wrong thing. So here's our Apple Automator script. So we have our Python thing, and now the watch me do. So watch me do. So remember, this guy opens a Chrome. This guy opens the Chrome to the plan. So it basically opens it to this, the plan that we had, and with the plan ID. So it goes to this URL, opens a web browser, and now we're here. Watch me do, you may have to change, because what is programmed to do is physically move the mouse over here and click that button, and then submit. So this is a key, because we've had problems in the past, like if this user has done something in the past, like messed around with some of these settings, like right now it'll do portrait, and that's not good. We need to do landscape. So if you go ahead and you print this using this user, using a different setting, you'll have to reset it, and you'll have to submit one time, because PCO saves your print settings. So it automatically brings up the last one. And so what you'll have to do is you'll have to submit it one time so that it works. And then now the watch me do, when it does this button, it'll do the right thing. So that's what watch me do does. It works in multiple screens. I've tried it at a big screen, little screen. It doesn't seem to matter. So you may not have to mess with it. That would be really nice. So, okay. So let's go back here. So we have this, and then we pause for 30 seconds. This is another iffy thing. If the internet is slow, it will fail. So because this only pauses for 30 seconds. And so this gives it 30 seconds to do the save to PDF thing. So yeah, be careful with that. And then now this Apple script is something that I wrote, and I will copy this to a thing so here's the Apple Automator script. So what it'll do is it'll find the PDF file. So that's why it's important that we clear it out as the first step, the download folder, path to download folder. Anything that's called PDF, so you have to make sure that there's only one PDF file in there. And so it will get the source file. The target file is the same thing, but with a PNG at the end of it. And then we do the shell script. We use this sips command. I don't think you need to install it. I think it's default in there. And you set the property to PNG, you do this, and you do this, and you do the target file. And then now you need to maximize it automatically, because why do all this work if you have to click the maximize button? So we will tell it to do keystroke F, which is full screen. So that's the entire solution. If you noticed at the beginning, we have two. So we have a special event one, and we have a normal thing, at normal Sunday. So the difference is that argument for this, like right now, it defaulted to Chandler. This guy right here does type Chandler special events. And so what, okay, so during a conference, what I'm considering doing is pretty much getting rid of this entire section and just opening the website manually and then going to the right session and then doing the watch me do, the pause, and converting to PNG and maximizing and opening it up and maximizing it. So you could easily do this part by itself with an already open web browser. And you could skip this stuff. Actually, you probably have to clear it out. So you probably have to do these two, clear this, and then just continue on with this. So yeah, skip the Python script because that future thing, that future filter doesn't work very well with multi-session things. So that's about it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to include all the files, everything into the bundle. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day. Bye.